Welcome to Joe's Tutorial Part 10, tailored specifically for the Live from Studio B project at Holyoke Community College. Okay, we've been through a lot of different features and approaches here. We've just talked about some of the troubleshooting that may occur, how to handle the middle design of these shoots. And I would like to just talk about kind of final polishing, wrapping up, exporting, all the things that we have to do to make this feel nice and clean and ready for export. Okay, so first of all, I've got a new project up here, Vendor Curbelo, just to get a little bit of a different take on that approach, and to show the end graphics and how we can handle that. Okay, so right at the end here, I'll show how this ends briefly. Okay, nothing too fancy with that. No band-aids had to be put on, anything like that. It's just nice to use a little bit of that applause. It's always good to record more than you need so that even when we cut the visual, we can have that audio kind of spill out into our graphics a little bit and have a nice kind of closing moment there. And again, this is about style, so it's entirely up to you how you choose to end these videos. So what I choose to do is cut the video and allow that audio to kind of lag through as the graphics and credits start to come on screen. Okay, so what we have here for the end graphics, I want to show them specifically. We repeat a graphic, of course. This is the title from Flynn Paul that we used at the beginning. We can use it again here. One thing about this end graphic package, so I'll select them all to point out, this grouping of graphics, as I have gotten into the habit of editing these videos, I've simply copy and pasted and recycled the graphic parameters themselves. Of course, the actual information has to change. It's a different crew each time, so the end credits change. The title slide never changes. It is the same. And the date, of course, changes as well. So what I do is copy paste this grouping into my next edit, just so I don't have to reinvent all the parameters and reset things in that way, and recycle what's working, and then simply swap things out and replace them there. So if you have multiple edits that you're working from or you're continuing on, that's a really good tool to use, or a good trick to use. Okay, if you don't, these graphics have to be imported into your project so that they can be dragged in. So we've already talked about graphics in a previous tutorial. One thing I did not mention in that tutorial is the watermark itself. So I'll double click that to see what that is. So we've got a little watermark that carries through the entire edit to identify WCCH. So if I come back down here to my sequence, I'll zoom way out and notice that watermark graphic is at the very first frame. Okay, so if I bring my playhead to the very beginning and hit play, so even before our title slide graphic emerges, we have the watermark on screen. I tend to cut the watermark. I'll zoom back in here to the end. I cut the watermark at the end of the title slide and date, just because it's redundant. By the time we have the credits on, we already have that enlarged with that graphic. Okay, so that should be on screen for the whole time. So we have credit where credit's due for the makers of this series. The nice thing about the trick of simply copy and pasting between projects is that, you know, all the parameters are set and you don't have to worry about reformatting, resizing things. And it also makes things look consistent, that every edit, the watermark, for instance, is, you know, the same size and position in each video export. So if you don't have that luxury, then you just have to reformat it a little bit. Okay, so if you notice, if I clicked on my watermark graphic, and if I go into my effect controls that are associated with it, things have been adjusted here. So that's that graphic is much bigger than it needs to be in its original source form. So I've scaled it down. And the position, of course, has changed. That graphic would rest dead center on screen. So just moving it to where it belongs in that bottom right of the image. So a few things that need to be adjusted. You can kind of see them here. You can redo that each time. Of course, it's not the end of the world if it's a little bit different. You can trust your eyes on that. Or just like the end credit kind of package graphics, you can recycle it from shoot to shoot. Okay, but regardless, these graphics have to be available over here in your media bin that's associated with the project sequence that's open. So that would be an import, right? So we'd go in and import those graphics if we don't already have them. Okay, so what we have here is I like to go from our cut directly into our title slide again. I've added a graphic here, as you can see, the date. And this I did not do in Illustrator or anything else. I just had that graphic created in Premiere. Okay, so that too, if you like it and the effects that have been placed on it, then feel free to copy paste it, right? If you have it from a previous edit. If you don't, then just make some choices about that. How do you want that text to appear? And then once you create a set of parameters that look good to you, you can certainly recycle that graphic yourself between edits. So what I've done with that graphic, I've obviously placed it in a very particular space to fit in with Flynn's design. So it emerges after a moment of that title slide being on screen. Okay, and as it did, I also added a few things just for fun. So graphics that make it a little more unique. So this is the text information, font size, kerning, all that kind of information is there. The color is there as well. And I've added what's called an alpha glow with a color that is in some way derived from Flynn's design. So it's just these little kind of design choices, whatever Premiere is capable of in terms of these graphic designs, you can kind of get comfortable with them and explore them yourself. So I'll show how that appears in the effect controls window as it emerges. Okay, we can see in real time that that glow is evolving just a little bit over the course of it being on screen. Give it a little bit of animation. Okay, so the title slide on screen for a shorter duration, and then we cut immediately to the end title graphics, which I've demonstrated how to create in Illustrator, or again, you can remake entirely using Premiere Graphics if you prefer. This, of course, we keep on screen a little bit longer so that we can read all of those names, and that's how we kind of close out. I've put a little fade out with opacity on that frame, just so we have a nice kind of ending to the video timeline itself. Okay, all of that is flexible, but this package seems to work well. Doesn't linger on screen too long, and makes sure the information about the shoot is provided. This last little graphic here is simply black. So Premiere has the ability to create a black or essentially empty slide, which is really helpful to use for spacing. Okay, so I've made this, I believe, 2 seconds, so that I know that at the video as it exports, it will have about 2 seconds before it actually ends. So if you think about that on YouTube or anything like that, before it immediately goes auto to the next video or gives you that next video page or things like that, it is baking in a couple seconds for the video to kind of resolve on our own terms, essentially. So it's useful to use if you choose to. There's lots of ways to create empty space in Premiere, but this is a nice option. So I'll just open up my media bin menu a little bit so I can see it a little better over here. And there's an option folder called New Item. So I'll click on that. Notice there's a lot of stuff in here. These are things that are not imported in, but rather Premiere is generating itself. So lots of stuff in here. Color matte, for instance, if you want it to, to fade to a certain color as opposed to black, you could put a color matte slide in anywhere you need, and it would behave as a text or image graphic. You also have the opportunity to create sequences in here. Let's say you're doing a project where you want 4 versions to be going on at once. You might want to generate your own sequences. I've shown you how to do that really simply by clicking and dragging a clip into the sequence window area, and it'll automatically generate a sequence, but this is another opportunity, another place to find it. What we're focusing on here is black video. If I click on black video, It's giving me the default width and height based on my sequence settings, so that all looks good to me. And we can say OK. Okay, so what that gives me is another item in my media bin. I had already had one, of course, here, but it gives me another one. I can rename this if it makes it easier for me. But it's just like any other still image graphic. I can click and drag it into the timeline anywhere I want. And again, it's a way to, if you want equal spacing between elements, you can use that as a kind of buffer between clips in that kind of way. Okay. Okay, so that's the ending, the kind of closing off of the visual for this project. And I want to end by just briefly talking about the audio. So the last thing to do, I've talked in the previous tutorial that sometimes there are problems with audio and you have to put band-aids on them, do some balancing, things like that. Again, for the most part, you shouldn't have to. These audio master files are really good on their own. But as you're baking that audio into a new file, exporting a new video file that contains this well-balanced audio, there's always a little bit of adjusting that has to happen to make sure this is going to export properly. Okay, so I'll slide this over so we can see our audio gauge over here a little bit. And it's a nice visual representation of our volume sound balance. See her in a movie, in a nightmare or a dream. Okay, general rule for balancing this sound, the default volume is rarely perfect for a particular edit and export. So if you notice, I'm clicked on my master audio here, so I've got that info in the effect controls. I have changed the decibel level. Okay, so that's been boosted up quite a bit from its defaults. And what I'm looking for there, I want to get as much sound information out in my export as possible without breaking up to the top of my gauge up here. So I'll show another example. What I often do with this final kind of polish of sound is take a look at my waveform, and here, I'll blow that up a little better. Okay. Take a look at my waveform graphically, just even visually, and look for the biggest spikes. So where is this the loudest? I can kind of find those moments, like this one, for instance, right here, and gauge it against my visual graphic over here. General rule of thumb, we like yellow, we like even orange sometimes. If it hits the red ever so slightly once or twice for a loud moment, that's fine. But if it starts to live up there in the red, you are essentially breaking your sound information. It's not going to come through the headphones or the speakers or whatever this is playing off of for the user. It's not going to be a clean sound. It's going to be kind of cracking too much information. So it's always a matter of finding just the right moment where I have as much volume as possible to make it a nice rich sound without going too far. So let me hit play here. Okay, so at a moment in the song where it should be loud, it should have that kind of drama to it in our ears, in our headphones. And I've just reached it up to the 0 here, up to the red, without going too far. If it sits up there in the red, it's just not going to be a clean sound. Okay, so that's really the last thing. And with this audio, I didn't have to do too much else. In some cases, the audio needs a little bit more balancing, and you just can't get rid of the spikes without reducing the sound too far down in other areas. So there's always a kind of trade-off to do. You can add keyframes, as I've already demonstrated, along this white bar or up here in your effect controls window to make really specific little sound edits. If there's something that is just way too loud that spikes out, but it's a bit of a standalone, you don't have to balance all the sound based on that one problem. You can use keyframes and drop the decibel level ever so slightly for that moment. Be careful with that. It can sound a little fake sometimes if you're not careful with the kind of flow of the moment. But there's just these kind of quick, easy ways to solve that manually if you want to, without getting into all the complexity of digital audio engineering and all the things that Premiere is capable of, as well as Adobe Audition. If you are someone who likes that stuff, then great, make this even better and go deeper into those tools that are available as well. But this is a really quick manual way to make sure you're getting a good quality sound that's coming through. Also, general rule, I would recommend before you put that final polish and export is to test the sound in different speakers. So plug in headphones, try it there, play it off of a computer, whatever else you have, just to see variety, just to hear variety. Where is it sounding the best? Is it spiking up too much in this kind of sound device versus another? It's just a good rule to make that a good final export. You don't want the sound to be too low when it exports, even if it's nicely well balanced. If it's too low, your user is going to be constantly kind of turning the volume up on their device, and that can cause some annoyance and inconsistency with other videos as well. So using this visual graphic over here is the last step to make sure this is all nice and clean and ready to go. Okay, lastly, we'll go through export settings. Before I do, I just want to say generally about this project. I have gone through this 10-part tutorial just to show general, the sort of basics, the way that I've handled this. And it's a template for editing these projects in a way that is just kind of transparently serving the performance, right? Allowing the performance to live on. I strongly encourage any student editors who decide to take this on and let this project keep going and evolve to get creative with it. Find your own style, find your own voice with editing. Maybe you can do multiple versions of a shoot as well. Maybe a performance has 2 or 3 remixes of video edits that are doing different things, right? So start to explore things like the effect controls window, keyframing, things that you can animate essentially if you wanted color to change over the course of a clip, any kind of picture-in-picture kind of work that you wanted to do. There's so many things that you can explore once you get comfortable with the effect controls window that might find its way into your own personal editing voice, editing style as you go. So it's this is a basic way to approach the projects, and then give it your own voice, kind of take on your own approach to how you want to edit these videos. Okay, so last thing we need to do is export. So I'm going to go through those basic settings that I use to spit out a nice video file that is not so huge that it's cumbersome and you can't move it into the shared drive or upload to YouTube, anything like that, but still nice high quality. Okay, so I'm going to click on Export tab up here in the upper left. And that gives me a window where I can make some choices about how I want to export this file. First of all, always make sure the name is correct so you can find it on your computer. Make sure you know what you're looking for. So this is up to you. Name the performer's name, date, whatever it is you want to do. Just rename that file. You're making a new file that is not connected to Adobe Premiere any longer. It will be an MP4 file if you use these settings. So just make sure it's discernible and separate in that way. Okay, location is always extremely important too. So click on location. You'll get this dialog box and you can make a choice where you want to place this file. So in the performers folder that you've already created, Live from Studio B folder, however you're organizing your projects, that's a good destination to choose. Okay, save. And the format should be H.264. If you click on format, tons and tons of options in here. And if you're sort of getting interested in different kind of outputs or creating a video for different kinds of situations, you may look into and explore different ways to export your video file. That said, H.264 is a really good container that maintains high quality. This is a nice 4K video and reduces that file size as much as possible to make it something that is easily worked with. Okay, video and audio should both be checked. That happens as a default, but it's always good to double check and make sure. And if I go over here, it's also a good idea to do one last pass. Okay, so I've got a little playhead here. I don't need to watch the whole thing, but I want to skim through. If there are any points that stand out to me, I want to watch, make sure it's good. And as long as that looks okay to you in the preview, we're definitely exporting the entire source. That should be on as a default as well, but you can check that. And everything else looks good. So we're going to hit export and let that go through its process. So that will take a little while. So I'm going to cancel my export here. This project is already exported. But once that is complete, you want to go to that destination folder wherever you placed it and make sure your file is there. Double click it, open it in a different program other than Premiere, something like QuickTime, and just make sure it's playing the way you expect, right? And so it's always good to double, triple check, make sure everything is good before you're finally wrapped up and ready to import that file into the shared drive. So I'll click back on the Live from Studio B drive. If you notice, everybody's performance has a separate folder. This is where we retrieved all of our source files. I'll click on Evander's, for instance. And in here, you'll see that my final edit for that video is also in here. So you can just drop those final MP4 video files directly into the performers folder and then send it off to wherever it's going, whether it's YouTube or elsewhere. Thanks everybody for checking in on this tutorial. I am really excited about this project and I hope it continues, and I really encourage all sort of excited student editors, student media people, anybody who wants to take this on and make it their own. I have strong encouragement to do so. I am always available for messages, text, emails, anything like that if you need some help with anything, and good luck editing.